Hi, everyone. I'm Tori Davis. I'm a product design manager here at GitLab on the foundations team. And today I'm here with Rayana to talk about career development and leadership in design. So Rayana, do you want to just start by introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Rayana. I'm currently a product design manager at GitLab. It's recent, so different roles. I've been with GitLab for, I think, 2.5 years now. I've been a UX designer, product designer, staff, and now product design manager. And currently I'm with the CI/CD team. And before that, before GitLab, I've always been a designer. We'll get to that. Um, but this is what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get to that now. Like, tell a little bit about your background, your journey, design journey, and kind of how you arrived at GitLab.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I've always been a designer in a sense. So ever since I had my first computer, when I got the first computer, I knew I wanted to work with computers in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I studied graphic design, and during my studies, I wasn't so inspired by what I was learning. It was a lot of visual design, but I wanted to continue just building websites. I used to build blogs and, I don't know, build templates with WordPress and learn PHP and CSS, all things for fun. And then when I realized I could work with that, it all made sense to me. So I did a bit of everything. I've been a web designer, web art director. I did like animations in Flash. I did, graphic design, really print, a bit of everything. But my focus has really been the design and implementation side of, I think, what we do. So the UI design plus front end. And over the years, I transitioned to UX. So that's when I started working with products. So after I think 5 years, I was working in agencies and a bit tired of just being creative all the time. I wanted to see progress, and I wanted to see if people were happy with the things that we were delivering. That's when I transitioned to an organization back in Brazil that has partnerships with organizations, companies such as like Google, HP, Apple, etc. And I was assigned to a project there. I did UI engineering, and that's when I realized that's what I wanted to do. Be still be in between design and development. And yeah, I moved to the Netherlands after that. I worked with the business banking here as a UX designer. That's when I really had like ownership, for example, of the research process. Before that, I always had a researcher. So I think my trajectory has always been like I was exposed to a lot of the different sides of design.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of how design is made, like the effort that we put into building something through design. And yeah, but I wanted to go to a place where I could be not just happy about my job, but also about what I do and the people. And that's when I decided to move to GitLab. I came here for the more for the values. And my story at GitLab, I just mentioned briefly, was in individual contributor and recently transition towards design leadership. So it's a long story. I try to summarize.
Yeah. So you mentioned like you've had a lot of like experience, I guess, in different realms of design and UX and research. And over the last year, you've had a lot of different experience of different levels of leadership. And I'm curious, like you went from senior IC to staff to product design manager. I was hoping you could speak to what that was like for you and how you made your decision to transition to the manager role.
Yeah. So my transition was intentional. I'll put it like that. So I got to the point where with my self-reflections and also had a mentor for a while, what I felt like I needed to decide what I wanted to do next. I felt confident as an individual contributor, and I wanted to know what else can I learn? What else can I do as a designer? And then my transition was really like, in a way, in my head planned, so like my career development. I want to have the ability or the opportunity to experiment with, design management and with staff level work. And I found that at GitLab, I had the opportunity to do that. I had the frameworks for career development, but I also had people that were coaching me, even though maybe they didn't know that they were coaching me or they're helping me transition towards the leadership role. But the partnerships I think that I made here, they were fundamental to being comfortable with making the transition to design management specifically, because I think there's a certain nuance to design leadership in general and the people management side of design of what we do.
Yeah.
And it was really like, okay, I'm going to work on my career development and I want to track my growth and look at the things and the skills I need to develop. So for example, yeah, coaching skills or having the crucial conversations and the things that that we did together as part of the development plan. So I think it, especially here at GitLab, it was a planned transition. I planned it myself. Whereas if I compare with my past experiences in other companies, I was really hired to do a job. I wasn't being coached to grow, and I wasn't. I was learning a lot, but it was not intentional. And I think that here I had the opportunity for the first time to, push myself out of my comfort zone um, and move towards design leadership. Does that answer your question? I
It
think it's a
does,
lot
yeah,
of
it does,
thoughts.
absolutely. I'm curious, like you say, it was very intentional, and I'm wondering, like, were there any tools that you use to navigate your design, like career path, or like development opportunities that you
Yeah.
utilize to kind of make that decision?
I think one of the most important aspects were the coaching. So to give you context, in my previous job, my experience was not so happy there, and I really felt like I was not learning from anyone. I didn't have a people manager. I didn't feel supported um, to grow. And my previous manager, actually back in Brazil, for my last job there, he's someone that I really look up to, and I still think like if I want to be like him at some point as a person, but also as a designer. So for me, it was important to have that reference, have that inspiration, and someone that I could talk to and just rant about the challenges and think together about who I am as a designer and how can I approach my career development. And of course, this was before I joined GitLab actually, but here at GitLab, the frameworks were indeed the career development frameworks that we have. Also looking at how we evaluate performance. So I try to look at that to kind of just have a guide for, okay, this is how the company is evaluating me, and this
Yeah.
trying to work on a plan. I try to do a quarterly, write a plan for what I want to accomplish and discuss with my managers. Um, and I think every manager I had would help and work a bit differently, but just myself using the organization's framework and figuring out how that translates to my plans. So I work at some point with writing quarterly OKRs, like personal OKRs for myself, and then just linking back to what are the things that the organization is doing, like the UX department OKRs, or I don't know, the things that relate to the direction of a certain category that would give me the opportunity to grow my skills and expertise in UX research. So I'll link that um, and connecting with people. I think that's important because I don't know, leadership is not just you, it's everyone
Right.
around you, right? Yeah.
It sounds like you're very proactive in kind of determining like where you wanted to grow and utilizing the the processes that we have here at GitLab in terms of career development to kind of push where you wanted to grow, while also working with maybe um, internally and externally. It sounds like you talked to mentors or coaches to kind of figure out, what did you want for
Yeah.
yourself? And I think that's really valuable. Like in the call we did, like I also reached out to other mentors via the Plato platform. And I feel like that was just super valuable to kind of learn different perspectives and
Yeah.
how different leaders in other organizations also function. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also just really like your emphasis on like how much you were proactive in determining your own career path. You didn't wait for someone to kind of help push you along.
Yeah, I feel like because I waited for too long and also I didn't really have a manager before. So
Yeah.
also another reason I joined GitLab, I wanted to have a design manager. I wanted to not just be part of a engineering department with no design person to represent me.
Yeah.
So that also became clear. Actually, I really did an exercise. I wrote like a personal manifesto for the things I want to be happy about myself and about my job.
That's
Because
awesome.
I think I mentioned this to you. I had a burnout in my previous job, and I was out sick for like months. I was really sick because I was so unhappy in that environment that I knew that when I'll be ready to switch to move, it had to be a place that I knew I would be happy. And that's when I kind of had the opportunity to think about who I am as a professional and what do I need to be happy, right, at work. And writing that and reflecting on the type of growth that I seek, that I crave in a way, helped me find an organization like GitLab that will allow me to grow the way I need, you know. But I think that comes also, of course, you having a mentor and a manager helps a lot. But I don't know, my experience, I think it comes with time. With
Yeah.
the, you have to do this self-reflection, I guess. And yeah, in my case, it came from very painful experience.
Yeah, everyone's different, right? Everyone's past experiences will shape
Yeah,
kind of how you get to where you are today.
yeah.
So I'm curious to ask you what makes a leader? What makes someone a leader to you?
Hmm. I think that like the basic things, the cliche, um, someone that can inspire others. I think Chrissy actually said something that I could really relate to, is that being a leader is being able to not just empowering others, but doing what needs to be done, and people will follow you, right? I
Right.
think especially in design, like being an example, but also creating the frameworks or the opportunities for others to contribute. So that's been a lot in my head recently as I transitioned to the manager role. That there is this line between being the manager and being like the people manager responsible for people's output, but also opening the doors, leading the
Right.
way for them to do what they need to do. Um, and when I think about career development, for example, my own, and now with the designers in my team and how it's interesting to see where everyone is and where they want to go, is helping others figure out how sometimes they want to be helped. So that's I think at the manager level, but also as an IC, it's really, doing your job and um, leading by example. I cannot think about that, but I can give you an example. Like now with Pedro um, and Catherine, for example, doing the merge request research, and what we had recently for the navigation and the settings improvements at GitLab. It's leading the way, opening the path for these
Right.
high level improvements, um, in creating the opportunities where people can contribute with their craft and grow. It's a lot of things.
Yeah, like
And
providing some sort of vision
yeah,
for a goal that we have of
yeah,
some sort.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think these are the ways you measure in a way, you can quantify it. When I was reviewing the drafts of the topics for the new OKRs, for example, where you talk about improving the component life cycle, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's a great example of just proactive leadership. It's like it's improving a process or clarifying things so that others can not just contribute, but through that contribution, learn or grow in a certain aspect of their jobs.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that. That's what's in my head with with the recent events I had in my career.
Yeah, I completely agree. And since you've transitioned from staff to manager, like how much overlap of leadership skills did you see? Was it kind of very similar? I know you were like acting manager as your staff, so maybe there's too much overlap to kind of like separate them, but I'm curious if there is anything there.
Definitely. Um, I think especially at the thing I just mentioned on leading the way, it's totally transferable. Because I'm learning that the people management, it's a very fancy name, right? Product design manager. But you get to solve the hairy, sticky problems that no one sees. And I think as a staff, right, as an IC or an IC leadership, because I've been in that position, right? I am a designer. I've been a designer not just at GitLab, but outside of GitLab. I know how it feels, and I can, in a way, predict how to solve certain problems and how to approach it from a more practical, I don't know, point of view, I would say. So just I don't know, just putting yourself in other people's shoes rather than, yeah, I'm just new to everything that is happening here. But I'm learning a lot, especially around communication. So having those crucial conversations and all the processes, especially behind um, how we communicate things to people or how we we open the doors, lead the way, but they need to step out. They need to,
Be
in the front of
proactive
just
a
giving the
bit.
push.
Or,
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of I wouldn't say anxiety, but I want to see people succeed. But I think it's also talking about leadership in general is that you have to do things for yourself, right? And find out what makes you happy, what skills you want to develop, and use the people around you
to get
to
there.
help you to
Yeah.
get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, and so in terms of like your current role, product design manager, what challenges are there? You talked about crucial conversations. I think that's certainly a challenge for managers. What else have you encountered since you've transitioned?
Time management. I don't own
Yeah,
my time anymore.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, yeah. So not as an IC, yeah, you own 90% of your priorities, and I can choose how to, yeah, schedule, organize them. But now my priorities are the
Other
people I
people.
work with. Yeah, so you cannot just put them on, mark them as unread. So yeah, so I think I'm learning that I'm much more reliable than I thought I was. So that's a thing. Um, and as a design manager, I've still because I'm still on the onboarding phase, right? So, although I've been acting manager for I don't know how many months, but I'm not outside of my my scope of responsibilities as staff. So not um, not owning the design process from a tactical point of view, it's still weird. I don't doesn't mean that I miss it or that I crave for it or want, but not knowing how things are happening, only seeing sometimes the results, it
Yeah.
feels odd because I've been
Yeah, I get that too. I feel the same way.
I'm like, yeah, I've been a designer for like 10 years and now I'm like, wait, what is what is this thing?
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's part of I know it's part of the transition, and I know also that I need to make room. I think that's also important. Deprioritize things to make room for what you need to learn. So like right now I'm doing hiring, and I know that I cannot do stage group work as well. So I had to deprioritize and communicate to people and make a backup plan, etc. So I could focus on that one part of my growth and development plan. So
Yeah,
that's a,
aggressively prioritizing
yeah,
different things to make
yeah,
space.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a great segue to my next question, which was what are the areas of personal development that you're working to explore now?
Valerie asked me that last week. I feel like I'm leaving my career development. So I mean, I'm the guinea pig of my own my own plan. Um, but hiring and understanding how not understanding how, but going through that process right now of hiring, sourcing, and reviewing resumes and the things that they seem so simple. And when you get to do that part, that's usually in the behind the curtains, um, requires a lot of attention, requires a lot of I think sensibility to understand also how people present themselves and understanding their skills. So learning about that and learning from others, especially. So I'm partnering up with Valerie, and I asking help from Justin, Mike Long, to see how other managers do.
Yeah.
So in my plan, at least for this year, it's on board as a manager, and starting feeling comfortable with my new role, so I can learn how and be more confident about how to better support my team, right? So
Yeah.
that's number one, the onboarding. And after that, I want to work on strategic design. So as much as I'm not a staff designer anymore, I still see opportunity for myself as a manager to use my craft, right, in design, to make the connections and help the designers in CI/CD to chat and to discuss
Yeah.
and
Think
work.
holistically and collaborate
Yeah,
together.
yeah, because I have the technical knowledge about our product and great opportunities to lead and talk about, for example, adoption in CI and verify, and do that at the higher level, and create opportunities for the designers in our teams to then execute the design, execute with their teams. But I only be able to do that once I onboard,
Yeah.
and once I also offboard from my staff role, because right now I'm still covering for two stage groups. So
Well, if you
lots of
discover any onboarding to management, development things like books, or, you go to a conference or anything, please share them, because I would love to read
yeah.
or utilize them as well. So,
I,
um,
I think in the handbook actually we have a couple of resources around that.
nice. So we can just add to it
We
as you're
can add to
on.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll write a book maybe.
There's always a handbook page for
Yeah.
everything. Okay, so we're about out of time. And so to wrap up, I just wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to an intermediate designer who is interested in kind of developing their leadership skills?
First, look for a mentor, or even if you don't really have that person, around you at your organization, look outside, look at the community. So for me, I was here in Amsterdam. We had the Ladies That UX community. So I would go to the meetups. That's how actually I met Dimitri, and
Oh
Dimitri
yeah, that's
referred
right.
me to GitLab. So I never thought that because I went to, for example, a design event, I will meet someone that worked in a company that, that will help me grow towards design leadership, for example. So connect with people, and focus on building the soft skills as well, because we're always going to have new design tools. We're always going to have new technology, but the people skills, they are transferable, and they will help you grow even if you decide not be a designer anymore and change careers. So I think
Absolutely.
the people side, as, I'm learning that every day. It will help you also in your personal life. And design is all about people, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
definitely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rayana, for taking the time to chat with me just about your journey, and also for starting this series in general. So if anyone watching doesn't know, this is the 5th part, I believe, to a series of videos discussing career development and leadership with different members of the design team at GitLab. So feel free to check those out if you haven't already. And thanks again, Rayana, for setting this up and
Thank you,
providing all
Tori.
of your insight and knowledge to everyone.
Awesome. Thank you for the chat.
Yeah.